Previously on Discuss Metal.
Yeah. I Get Wet is a cover-to-cover classic in my house.
Yep.
Thank you.
So good.
What are we doing Andrew W.K. on the main show, Dan?
It's so big. It's
Asking
so
for two friends.
I don't know. What do you guys?
What do you guys want to do?
I will. Whew.
So, Rance, the next time he's sick, I'm calling on both of you. Andrew W.K. right now. Let's go.
We're doing the wolf.
What, Dan? Do you not like Andrew W.K.?
I don't know. Why does everybody think that I hate
I don't know.
everything?
You got this face.
I said nothing.
He doesn't like to have fun sometimes.
I do. I don't have a problem with Dan.
Ready
Andrew
to Die.
WK.
Ready to Die is one of the most brutal tracks I have ever heard.
I'm not a diehard fan, but I don't hate Andrew WK. I wasn't mad when you picked that as your album.
It's sad that we're all doing the thing right now.
I love it.
You're listening to Discography Discussion, episode 270, Andrew W.K. Hosted by Dan Terry.
I was making a joke the other day how oh yeah, this band needs to stay in their lane. They need to stick with what they're good at. And then, also me. But everything this band puts out sounds the same.
Rance Denton.
I think Joe, I'm just watching Joe over here, unfazed by you, unfazed by this state of being that you are, and just enjoying the shit out of Andrew W.K., smiling.
And Joseph Wren. Secretly, I wanted it to be called The Wolf all the time. Presented by discussmetal.com. And if you think the word of the day is party, then you are ready for this episode of Discography Discussion. I am Joe. That is Dan. That is Rance. You thought you were going to get out of this one, but you had to come back and talk about for today. So, surprise!
I mean, I had to take a whole month off, and I thought that would be sufficient in me being able to scoot past a episode on Andrew W.K.
You can't escape AWK, baby. You can't escape him.
I mean, clearly, I cannot.
He's gonna come at you with his white, dirty clothes and find you wherever the hell you are.
Look, Dan, I know you're trying to be serious right now, but Ready to Die is currently on the stereo, so how serious do you think you can be while this is going down?
That's weird. It's funny that you knew I was listening to Ready to Die at my own house on my own computer. Maybe it's not weird for you, but it's weird for me.
If you're gonna listen to any track off of that album and get pumped for something, it's gonna be that one. At least I think so anyway, dude.
I mean, you're not wrong. It definitely, this was an experience, and this is one, I'm not going to lie to the listener. I did not do my homework on this episode. I am still getting sort of back in the swing of things. So, I tried listening to these records. I did try forcing my coworkers to listen to these records, but then, it's such a drag. I get to work, and they're like, hey, Dan, you're at work, right? And I'm like, yeah. And then they asked me to do a whole bunch of work. And I'm like, I mean, I did it because paychecks and things, but
how do you not feel better doing work listening to Andrew W.K.?
Well, a lot of it was heavy lifting, so I had to put some Zayo on, understandably. That had to happen. But I did catch some brief snippets. But I want to hear what you guys think about Andrew W.K. And of course, guys, I'm always here to give the background information on a lot of these things. I've pulled up some very interesting factoids about Andrew W.K., if that is his real name.
Or does it start with an S?
It might actually start with an S. No, his name actually is Andrew W.K. If that's a real person.
That's what it is. Yes, if that's a real person, if the conspiracies
There's
are
a
true.
lot of conspiracy theories out there that Andrew W.K. is literally just an icon that they can have literally anybody step in and be in that role. And it's kind of like Ghost in the sense of is this guy the same guy or is it a different guy? He says it's the same guy, but I think it might be a different guy. Whereas with Ghost, it's well, he keeps saying it's a different guy, but I'm pretty sure it's the same guy.
I feel like this is going to be the intro to a bad fake Beatles documentary. Andrew W.K. isn't a real person. He's just a guy. He shows up in a dirty t-shirt.
pulling the wool over our eyes for 20 some years, and he's going to show up, and he's going to be Elvis.
Pulling the disgusting bloody nose mixed with animal blood.
Yes.
Wool over our eyes.
There was that weird time where every record his attire got progressively more filthy, and I thought it was just a shtick. Like, does he have 7 perfectly white outfits that he just throws in the dirt before he goes out and travels? I really don't know if this guy does laundry.
I can't even imagine that this could possibly be the same clothes that he started with, because for as many shows as this guy has done, they would have to. I know what my gym clothes smell like after about like 5 weeks of being washed, but still the sweat is inside of them. These things would be making people die.
What if he just goes into the
like
shower
flies.
wearing the clothes? Like a James Hetfield in the 80s, just straight from the stage into the shower, but he doesn't change clothes at all.
Did you see on the cover of the newest album that now he's added another stain to his clothes? He's got just a big piss stain down the front of them.
I don't spend that much time analyzing his attire. I listen to the party. I enjoy it. I know how much Dan hated it. Dan's trying really hard not to just say, I didn't like it. He wants to give it a chance.
Oh, don't worry. I'm going to say that.
You're going to hurt my soul, Dan.
Thank you.
Oh, that's funny. Well, before we make Dan suffer even more, I'm going to take this time to say thank you to everyone for listening to the podcast. Thank you for listening and for subscribing. If you are not a subscriber, then you can find everything Discography Discussion at discussmetal.com. We're on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. So if you have an Amazon Echo or a Google Home, you have no excuse. Ask it to play the latest episode of the Discography Discussion podcast, and it will. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter at Discuss Metal. Be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe. It really helps us out. It lets us know you're listening. And now Dan is going to tell us all about 5-star reviews.
We do enjoy getting reviewed on this podcast. It gives us something to read at the beginning of the show that's not really annoying or clickbaity headlines and things that might throw people off of the scent. We want to talk about our favorite thing, us. So we want you to talk about us as well. Just like I said last week, though, definitely feel free to leave us a review. 1 star, 5 stars. I really don't care. But keep in mind, if you're a dick to me, I'm going to be a dick to you.
As it should be.
Not liking the show is fine. Calling us names, not fine.
Yeah, you got to have some etiquette in your reviews, right? Like if you review something, like, make me trust your bad review. Like, don't like shit on me as a person, right?
Make me cry with the beauty of your poetry. Make me weep openly whenever I realize how quickly you have shed a light upon all of my hidden flaws, everything I've ever done wrong in my life. I want you to expose it. Wait, now I'm just asking them to review bomb us. Never mind.
The facets of your imperfections have been shown to the world.
Wherever you can leave a review, leave us a review. If you want to tell us something, you want to tell us, hey guys, awesome, I want you to talk about this band. Or you want to tell us, hey guys, you suck, you should just quit. You can do both of those things if you email us at danandjoeshow@gmail.com, or you sign up for our Discord server where we hang out pretty much all the time. Pretty much a guaranteed way to get a hold of us. There'll be a link in the show notes that'll take you to the wonderful world of Discord. If you have a business or you're in a band or you want us to advertise something for you, hit us up, danandjoeshow@gmail.com. Ooh, we've got some sweet rates.
Those are perks, Dan.
No, the perks are for the Patreon. I'm glad you brought that up, Joe, because if you go to patreon.com/discussmetal, we actually do have some sweet perks there, which if you exchange your money, you get goods and services, but more like services, less goods. But we are working on the goods, so eventually we will deliver the goods.
I'm so glad you're back. Do you remember, Dan, back in episode 196 when we revisited Zayo?
Yeah, I briefly remember that.
Well, Gregory Startzel on YouTube says he found us today, and he's a huge metal head. He has this weird love of early 2000s Christian metal. Not at all religious anymore, but still love that music. I listened to this, the Savior Machine episode, and the Chariot. 10 out of 10. I looked at the list, everyone you have done so far, and I have like 30 back episodes I'm planning to go through. Thank you for making my 12-hour work shift bearable.
Let me tell you, number one, you're welcome. And number two, thank you for listening to us for that many hours at a time. There's no way I could do it. And so I appreciate it. And yeah, man, if there's any bands that you feel like we missed, definitely hit us up and let us know. We'll put them on our ever-growing list of bands that we need to talk about. It's great because we'll never run out of content.
Speaking of content, Rance, I need to hear about your book one more time.
Well, hey guys, I'm Rance, and I am a podcaster and an author. Clearly not a very good speaker, though, because of all the ways that I stumbled over those words. But I got a book out. It is out on audiobook, paperback, and ebook called His Ragged Company. It's a weird Western, so it's got a lot of fantasy elements to it, a little bit of violence, a little bit of badassery.
Lots of profanity.
Tons of profanity. You can get it wherever the hell you get books. Well, online anyway. Don't go to your bookstore and get it because, well, shit. I mean,
go to your bookstore and ask him to order copies.
There you go. Go to your library and say, hey,
yeah,
there's this guy. I want you to get this book by him.
He does this metal podcast. He shows up on a live stream. He talks about first-person shooters.
Yeah. So with the book, I got FPS that Dan and I are. We got to get back to that, Dan. I'm so sorry. Life has been busy.
It's been me, friend. I'm the guy that's like, yeah, I'm just going to give up everything for a month.
Hey, I do it too. And of course, I am a co-host of the Quarantine Book Club podcast. We read a bunch of shit books, and me and my brother Bob tear them down.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, get ready for some tearing down tonight.
It's finally time, and I can't believe I'm saying this. So, Dan, tell me and the listener all about Andrew W.K.
All right, so Andrew W.K., otherwise known as Andrew Federley Wilkes Krier, K-R-I-E-R, Career, like career, but without the, never mind. Andrew W.K., he is a performance artist, rock singer, multi-instrumentalist, record producer, and actor. He was born in California, which I think is pretty predictable, but he was raised in Michigan, which is not so predictable. And he was born in 1979. It's weird talking about a guy and not a band. I think that number one was the hard thing for me to wrap my head around, because it's like, do I got to tell this guy's life story now? Like, when he was 4 years old, he was riding a big wheel, one of those 1980s pure plastic big wheels that if you leave out in the sun too long, it's gonna melt.
The colors start fading.
Why don't we just go ahead and jump into the mid-90s when he started performing with some local bands, relocated himself to New York, and then he started making recordings under the moniker Andrew W.K. And I guess we just have to kind of jump into it. See, 2001's a really interesting year. Number one, you've got 9/11, right? Let's just get that out of the way off the top. But the way 9/11 affected music was very interesting in 2001. Because the bands that were popular leading up to that were your typical nu metal bands, your Limp Bizkit, Korn, Slipknot, Power Man 5000. Those bands were on fire still. Disturbed, all of these bands. And then September 11th hit, and everybody got real spiritual. And maybe if they didn't get spiritual, they definitely decided that they wanted more, not necessarily positive music, but music that was more fun. That's why, like, the biggest single out at the time was Alive by POD, because everybody wanted that sort of uplifting, sort of music. And so Andrew W.K. comes in with a more, an alternate version of that, or his own version of that, with his album I Party Hard. No, that's not right. It's I Get Wet.
2001.
All these songs sound the same, Dan, so it's okay.
There's really nothing I can say about this record other than the fact that I totally get why people liked it in 2001 because of the reasons that I just said. I'm not saying that this record was successful because of 9/11. Please do not at me on this. But I am just saying that people wanted to have fun. They wanted to forget about things, and they wanted to kind of escape. And the best way to escape is to party. So Andrew W.K. produces this album called I Get Wet.
You can call it a masterpiece.
On the cover, I'm not going to call it a masterpiece.
Agree. Oh, you can definitely call it a masterpiece. It's okay, Dan.
I'm good. Thanks, though. So it's got a very attractive man, presumably Andrew W.K. himself, on the cover with a bunch of blood smearing down his face, which you're like, well, Dan, that's violent. That's That's not positive. That's no, seriously, listen to the record.
One of the most positive musical experiences you're ever going to have that still holds up. I'm going to say that. But I hear this record, the first thing that comes to mind is all of my PlayStation 2 Madden NFL games.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, because they had Party Hard on, what was it, like 2003?
2003.
Yep.
And I can't count how many times you boot that game up. This is back in the day, people. We had to put the disc in, and the game actually loaded off the disc. So you were taking bets. What song's going to play when I press the start button? Is it going to be Head PE, Suck It Up? Or is it going to be Andrew W.K, Party Hard?
Was POD also on that game soundtrack? I mean, I feel like they might
Had to have been. I bet it was Boom.
Man, I remember hearing this the first time. I got to be honest with you, Dan, though. I heard Party Hard on the radio, and my first thought was, and at the time, like I was huge into black metal at the time. So it was like, oh, this is the hardest thing.
What the hell happened, Rance?
This is the hardest thing I've heard on the radio, but this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, right? And I was a little too into my own seriousness. And I heard it again. We were playing pool one night, and I heard it again on the radio, and I was like, wow, this is getting airplay. It's really weird. Like, but it was also the weirdest thing I'd ever heard on the radio since like Du Hast back in '97. It was just so different. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I can't get this out of my head. I gotta buy the album.
It was the opposite of everything. This is 2001. Like Dan said, post 9/11, everybody was either on the new metal train or trying to listen to more positive songs. And Andrew W.K. says, I can turn positive songs up to 11. And he did it. I don't remember hearing this record and saying, this is new? It's like the first time you hear The Darkness. It sounds like it's been around for a while. No, brand new, November, and it never stopped being good.
Nope. Every song must have had that same 4/4 beat to it too. It was a machine. You start
shamelessly
the album.
4/4 beat.
You start the album, and then by the time you're done, it's just the same pulsing like dance metal kind of deal with it, with this wall of guitars.
He's always had 3 guitarists at least. There's one record or one tour where he had 4 guys up there because Andrew W.K. needs more guitars. So let's take the party to the excess. I never see this guy really trying to push what partying is in the popular music scene. It's always, no, the music
is the party.
The energy is the party. So I got to tell you guys, listening to this album again this week, because this album just shows up in my rotation sometimes, I decided we need a checklist. We need the Andrew W.K. checklist on this podcast. Dan, I'm going to have to bring this back every now and then, but we're going to start with I Get Wet. Number 1, does it have a song about partying? Rance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's got like 3 of them at least. I mean, there's Party Till You Puke. There's Party Hard. I mean,
Fun Night.
Fun Night.
I love New York City.
If Girls Own Juice isn't a song about partying, then I don't know what is.
So that gets to number 2. Is there a second song about partying? Yes. Yes, there is. And number 3, could you understand a word this guy said when he does this album live? To this day, I have not seen Andrew W.K. live where he sounds as good as the rest of the band.
The only song that I knew the lyrics to live that I could hear were Don't Stop Living in the Red, whatever the fuck that means, because he just says it over and over in that song. It's like, oh, okay, after a while, you begin just hearing...
It means just live your life in debt, which we all do anyway.
I guess, wow, I've never actually thought about the meaning to that song. And I guess it's like, you know what, party as it is now, because you know what, why not live it in the red? You're always going to be in debt.
So here's the weird thing about Andrew W.K. He's always putting in these very disturbing ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like he's building you up with, no, it's going to be fun. We're going to party. We're going to have a good time. We're going to play the music loud. We're going to enjoy everyone's company. You know, you guys are living in debt, right? Crippling debt. Have you been saving for retirement?
There's always this weird dark undertone, though, to some of these as well. And I think on his more recent albums, you listen to him and there's this, I mean, he's a very philosophical guy. I remember back back when the internet was sort of in its like wild infancy in the early 2000s, his website, he just wrote these huge diatribes of like philosophical thought about what partying was. And he had this big definition of partying being like, you know, the zeal with which you approach your life, whatever the fuck that means. So he's like, if you're working, you're partying. If you're actually partying, you're partying. If you're sleeping can also be partying. And I'm like, okay, man, you're getting as Dan yawns. Sleeping is partying, Dan.
Oh,
As
man.
Alfred Hitchcock once said, I've made my living doing it.
I'm a metal fan, right? I don't like major chords. I don't like things in major key. This entire record is in major key, and it that just makes me unhappy. And I know it's supposed to make me happy, but I've got a lot of like mental trauma and emotional trauma. So like, I think that bad things are good and good things are bad. I'm sure you can tell after listening to 200 plus episodes of this podcast. Okay, but I have to push back on the idea of it being dance metal. I do not hear the metal in this.
Really?
Any more than I hear the metal in bands like Poison.
The metal's there, man. The metal is there.
Bro,
It's there.
They're hard rock bands. They're rock bands. They're hard rock bands. They're arena rock bands.
I mean, you are the metal expert here. And that much I can say. But I don't know, man. Like, didn't he at one point? He did have he had a guitarist, like a touring guitarist from Morbid Angel, who was playing with him.
Yeah,
like some of these just older metal dudes who could like no longer find a career path. He was just like, come play my music.
Just come over here and make way too much money and just play in 4/4 the entire time. Yeah, I mean, this isn't going to win any points for me as far as musical complexity goes. I don't usually I don't unironically usually say that a record makes me feel dumber after listening to it. But this stuff was really cool in 2001. I mean, not to me, because I was very not cool in 2001. And you can ask my kids about how cool I am now. So
I think you're pretty cool.
I may some days, but I think in this particular case, I understand the impact that it had. I understand why people like it. It's just so heavily in the not for me category that it's. I appreciate that the album is short, like that it's only like
39 minutes or something.
35 minutes and 32 seconds. So in and out. I do kind of enjoy the punk rock sort of influence that's very strong on here. It does sound kind of like a little bit of like 70s or early 80s punk rock, which I think is really, really cool. And yeah, every now and again you'll get a sweet double bass roll or something. It's interesting, but there's a reason I don't listen to a lot of punk rock, believe it or not. I'm going to show you guys I told you to show me my sins, but I'm just going to let you know what they are ahead of time. I'm not that into punk rock. So I will chalk my not liking this first album by Andrew W.K. I will chalk it up to just me not getting it.
You were in a bad place, Dan. Let's just say you were in a bad place. Nobody should give Dan a hard time for not getting this first album.
I'm going to give him a hard time. You need to listen to I Get Wet more if you don't get it, because it's just that good.
What is it, Dan? What does it mean to you to get wet? Can you philosophize on that? Maybe bloviate for a moment about what it means.
He did an ice bucket challenge back in the day.
I have been an overweight man. I'm still an overweight man, but a little bit less overweight, right? Because dieting's cool. But I Get Wet means to me, you know how like you get in your car at like 11:30 a.m. and you sit down in the seat and you're wearing like dank sweatpants, and you just start feeling that moisture create like a V in your crotch area.
You got that swamp going on.
And there's so much moisture but also so much space. There's like a little bit of a cavern there because this guy does not fill out his sweatpants. If you know what I mean. So you can actually hear the water dripping onto the bottom of your sweatpants, and the sound reverberates off of the seat. That is what getting wet means to me. Hopefully Joe didn't bleep all of that out.
I think I'm just watching Joe over here, unfazed by this state of being that you are, and just enjoying the shit out of Andrew W.K, like smiling. He is, one might say, bopping.
I'm the guy who brings the party when Dan is hiding in the corner, pretending that there is no party.
They probably don't even know I listen to Archspire on the way over to this party.
Let's get this train rolling. 2003, The Wolf.
The Wolf is just a close-up of Andrew W.K's face.
Yet again.
I'm
Without
sensing
the
a
blood.
theme.
Oh, I forgot to mention, on the cover of I Get Wet, in order to take that picture, dude literally just took a cinder block and smacked himself in the nose with it. But then he was pissed because he couldn't get enough blood. He didn't think it was like a convincing enough picture, even though it was his real blood. So he like went to a butcher shop and got a bunch of animal blood and rubbed it all over his face for that photo. So everything in the world is fake. Well, half of it is. Half of it was real.
One might say, though, he was ready to die, whatever that means.
It's such a good song.
It's so good. Go on with those little marimba beginnings, Dan, and that didn't hit you with those double drums, and then the palm mutes and She Is Beautiful. That song absolutely smashes, dude. Smashes.
Then we get to The Wolf, and it's basically the same thing.
Just not as good.
Not as good. I gave it a shot way back when, and I didn't want to say it's not as good as the first album, but I had to. It's grown on me over time, but when you listen to Andrew W.K. today, after you initially take the album in, it becomes a let me hit shuffle on my favorite songs. So a few of these songs have snuck in over time. I can appreciate them for being big and loud and epic sounding because that's what he wants them to sound like. I mean, Victory did strike again, after all, on the beginning of this album, but it's just not as good as I Get Wet. I Get Wet is an interesting bottle of awesome.
This album feels like I remember going to the store to pick this album up. I was so friggin' excited for it, and I went and picked it up and I put it in. And Victory Strikes Again is such a cool way to begin. It's super orchestral, and I wanted the album to just to be a continuation of I Get Wet, but it feels like he actually took a few risks on this album with changing things up with some different paces. I mean, the drums in Free Jumps, whatever the hell Free Jumps means. I guess you get jumps for free. Those pop into my head. I really like the heartfelt aspect of I Love Music, which also he puts it right out there for us. This man loves music.
Long live the party, long live music. Checkbox number 1 on the Andrew W.K. checklist.
I liked this one.
What about it stood out to you as different than the previous one? Was it because it was a more dynamic listen?
It was a little bit less sounding like they were in the middle of a room playing, and it feels like an epic late 80s rock opera. So like very pretentious, very full of itself. But then also still very dumb caveman. Like that's the thing with Andrew W.K. that kind of weirds me out, is that like he's equal parts very, very pretentious, but then also very like dumb caveman energy. Like just very like, yeah, bro, I love music. He doesn't talk like that. That's not what his voice sounds like. He's doing a voice. Now,
you're right, because his later stuff, you can hear him really actually put his voice to work, and the man's got some pipes. Both 100%. Both for some screams and for his just melodic singing shit.
I just love that every time you hear him, even between songs on the album, he never sounds exactly the same.
No.
You get the impression he goes into the studio as he is, lays down the track best he can, and accepts it for what it is, like an art piece. This dude has to be smarter than a lot of people give him credit for.
Yeah.
Because these records could spend years trying to be perfect. And that's not what it's about. It's about putting the energy on tape. I said it earlier, I didn't like this one as much as the last one. I hear that 80s epic sound. I was going to compare it to Queen till Dan said pretentious. So when you line that up with the previous record, we wanted to write something that sounded bigger, but we still had to finish the album, get it out, and get back on the road. So I have to respect him for that, because he didn't spend forever working on it.
Do you guys know what this album was originally supposed to be called?
Please do tell. Can we take some guesses, actually? Oh, I want to guess.
Go ahead, guess.
I'm gonna say it's just Girl's Own Juice, because there's literally no other title that skeeves me out as bad as that one.
Nope. Joe, what do you got?
I Got Dry.
Nope. The album was originally titled Blow Your Bone. But for whatever reason, Island Records was like, no, you're not calling it that. So then he's like, all right, fine, we'll just call it The Wolf, I guess.
What does blow your bone mean?
I will take a couple of seconds to let you go ahead and Google it yourself. Actually, no, hold on. Let's. This is real content. Joe, cut it if it's not funny. We're gonna go to Urban Dictionary.
Okay, check it out.
Yeah, we're gonna check out. Okay, I'm gonna type it in. If it's a phrase, blow your bone. Sorry, we couldn't find blow your bone.
Well,
okay,
Andrew just made it up himself.
I mean, I think we all know where he was going with this. He's definitely talking about bone flutes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. The ancient technique of creating a bone flute.
Where
right?
you hollow out the bones of your dead enemies and use them to play music.
Yeah, I mean that's clearly what's going on here. Yeah, this thing's more dynamic. It's a little bit more human, I think, than the last one. It's a little bit more honest. It's a little bit more heartfelt, and he's going to kind of continue down this road for a little while. I
also need to clarify too that I keep saying the name of this song, Girls. I forgot that on I Get Wet, it's called Girl's Own Love, but the original version of it was called Girl's Own Juice, which I'm like, come on, man. Like, I get so he must have this history of having things changed by his by the record company, like Island or whatever it was like, dude, we can't call it that. You need to get a little more subtle.
You think he's doing the art thing where he asks for two because he knows they're going to take away one? Like, if I give them the worst possible title, they're going to pull back a little bit and say, well, what about that second one, Andrew? All right, guys, it's fine. I guess you got your way. Secretly, I wanted it to be called The Wolf all the time. 2006, Close Calls with Brick Walls.
This was 2006? Holy shit. Oh.
I can understand if y'all haven't heard it, because it was only released in Japan and Korea until 2007. It got like a limited vinyl release. Now it's on streaming because life's cool. But apparently, like, somebody filed a copyright dispute for the name Andrew W.K. And all he ever said about it was that he said an old friend of his got in some business trouble and basically decided to take it out on him. So yeah, it's very, very strange.
This was the double album, right? I could be wrong with that, but was this a double album?
It's got 18 songs, so I'm going to say yes, but I don't think it's necessarily advertised as a double album.
Okay.
Well, I mean, run length is about 47 minutes, so I would give it just like, there's a lot of like little like filler songs on this one.
So he's doing the story thing again.
Yeah, that's right. It was Mother of Mankind was the other one. That this was sort of like it had extra tracks that this didn't have on it, but would have been considered part of this album. And I think they might be streamed as two separate albums now. I honestly don't remember. I remember getting this on a burnt CD from a friend of mine who was also into AWK. I think after like 2003, because he was quiet for virtually 3 years because of those disputes. He'd stopped touring at some point. He was doing this weird, like, motivational speaking tour as well, and he was branching out into these other things. And then I sort of forgot about him until a friend came back over and was like, dude, I burnt this album for you. And this sounded so vastly different, as I recall, from the previous two. It was really a chance for him to like spread his proverbial wings and try different stuff.
It's a little avant-garde Foo Fighters sounding. Yeah. And I have to give the guy credit. Where in 2006 he got the idea to do this and still just go for it, props to you, man. But this is no I Get Wet. This is no The Wolf. And where's the party? Or is Andrew W.K. getting very serious and taking a break from the party because I've got to say something, guys, and you're going to have to listen to it?
I feel like the one track on it, You Will Remember Tonight, is his party song, as well as I'm Not Going to Bed. Which I don't know. But like those, sure, they're fun, and they have some of the heart from his previous albums, like that explosive wall of noise. But I remember the one track on this that stood out to me, other than the weird like atmospheric tracks with him just going like and the piano, was Pushing Drugs, which I thought was one of the coolest things I had heard in a like a long time. It was weirdly 80s. It had this totally not Andrew WK sound to it, and it was also a little darker.
You're talking about Close Calls with Ball Harbor.
Oh, with the noise and shit like that.
It's just like a synth, an extended synth line, and I'm like definitely transported back to like 1987, like for sure.
There's a Golden Eyed Dog, which you're like, okay, this is a track that I was supposed to hear. I have a newfound hatred for short tracks that are just meant to be atmosphere tracks and transition tracks.
Welcome to my opinion. Did I need this? No.
Especially too in this 2006 and on, when like the peak of our digital consumption was iTunes. There was nothing that enraged me more than spending money, because I was one of those fucking idiots who spent money and got songs off, on iTunes. I spent 99 cents for something like, I'm Not Going to Bed, which is a full song. And then I spent 99 cents on Golden Eyed Dog, which is 28 seconds. Just take it off there. I don't need that. I don't need transition tracks anymore. That works for a CD, but it doesn't work for digital anymore.
So why did you stop buying CDs?
Even on a CD.
Yeah. Why did I stop buying CDs?
You don't have to do what people tell you to do.
I know, but I wanted to, Dan.
But why?
I wanted to be fresh and new. I wanted the party to go on into the 21st century.
The CD sounds better though.
Oh my god, yeah, so does vinyl, but I'm not shoving it up my butt.
No. Vinyl does not sound better.
Can you get these on vinyl? Can we test that?
Most undoubtedly, you probably can.
Would you listen to them on vinyl?
Probably not.
I don't think Dan will voluntarily listen to these records ever again.
Oh God, no. This is well, God, what was that stupid band we talked about with Matt and Oz? Mindless Self-Indulgence. This is like that all over again.
Whoa. You can't go to that place. Dan. Did you not like
place.
MSI?
He doesn't want to go that place ever again.
To that place. It's very similar to this. I listened to all of their records like overnight.
What happened to us? That I was like the black metal kid. Why did I all of a sudden turn into like, I love AWK, I love MSI?
You can only listen to Transylvanian Hunger so many times.
That's true.
The number is actually 666 times.
Oh, and then after that, you just start listening to MSI unironically.
Yeah, because Norway.
Because churches.
There you go. There are no more. So
oh, none. You're right.
All there are record shops that sell MSI records.
I'm going to consider this my close call with a brick wall. This record is good sometimes, but for the most part, it's just a bunch of avant-garde pieces of ideas. It sounds like Andrew WK's demos for what would have been the next I Get Wet at best. I don't hate it, but it's not for me. And I'm not so sure 55 Cadillac is going to be for me either.
Nope.
I smell a contract fulfillment sort of thing. Because this, like Joe said, this is like every idea he had, in the past year leading up to this. In the last 2 years before The Wolf, between The Wolf and this one, it's like, this is just everything I kind of came up with when I was just kind of messing around with stuff.
This is his appearance on Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Like, Andrew WK, do you want to be on our animated 15-minute show? Yeah, guys, it's fine. You wrote a song for us, right? What? Well, yeah, we asked you to be on the show like 6 months ago. You wrote us a song, right? Yeah, hang on a second. Let me get the drum machine. Dun, dun, dun. Party, party, party. I want to have a party. That's what this is, right? This is what Andrew WK has in the tank and hasn't taken the time to fully fulfill. So it's 2009. We're 8 years in. I don't want to pick on the guy, but do we really only have 2 albums?
So did any of you guys actually listen to Mother of Mankind? Because I did not. I don't have anything constructive to say about it.
So Mother of Mankind was originally that was released along with Close Calls of Brick Wall. So in my head, in my copies, I'm a Close Calls of Brick Walls bouncer. Like, I jump between certain tracks. There are tracks that I just don't listen to. Mother of Mankind had some on it as well that I remember that are specifically from that. Like, let's see what it was. I'm trying to figure out. Let's Go on a Date. I'm a Vagabond. Kicks and Bricks. These are all songs that in my head just sound exactly like Close Calls of Brick Walls. Like they were recorded in the same space, same time.
So I must be missing something.
So it was all of his ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So dude puts out 2 fairly solid records, one being a masterpiece. And then
Stop trying to make a Guns N' Roses analogy, okay?
Then we get 3 albums and or EPs of his ideas. So this is the performance artist part of it, right?
It feels like these 3 albums all together feel like he is desperately trying to, like, it makes me think of, I don't know if it's too early to talk about it or not yet. It makes me think about Linkin Park and how they just massively changed after those first 2 albums where, okay, we're almost bored with this, like that constant ticking in the artist's head of I need to challenge myself.
That and the record company coming at you with, the songs that chart the best are the ones that just feature Chester, right?
Yeah.
Just do more of that.
Just do those.
Do an entire album of that.
Make Mike sing instead of rap in places, That was the thing that happened.
Poor Mike Shinoda. And
I don't think he's poor, dude.
No. Oh, no, he's not poor.
Like, whatever we say about Mike Shinoda, he will be fine. Like,
he's going to be good.
He's fine, yeah.
Yeah, and 55 Cadillac, there are 1 or 2, I believe it is the last track on 55 Cadillac that explodes into a whole band sequence where it's not just piano anymore, but it goes into his big guitars and drums. And I was like, this is what I want from the entire thing. I appreciate that he's being an artist and playing some weird avant-garde, if that word's going to come up again, piano, but...
Dude, it's a bunch of Count Dracula crap on this record, man.
What does that mean?
Like Dracula
what is Count Dracula crap?
Like Dracula just sitting in his castle banging on his piano. Because that's what this is, right? I mean, Begin the Engine is like 8 minutes of that, of just and don't get me wrong, he's a great piano player. His skill is great. It's unmatched. He's a genius. Yeah, I get it. Okay. I didn't enjoy really anything before this.
Yeah.
But even I can recognize when somebody's strayed way too far from the beaten path.
Yeah.
I was making a joke the other day how, like, I'm like me. Oh yeah, this band needs to stay in their lane. They need to stick with what they're good at. And then, also me, I'm like, everything this band puts out sounds the same. So, like, I understand why he's okay. I don't exactly understand why specifically he's doing this, but I understand the itch, the idea of like, I gotta push myself further. I have to do this. But like, imagine all the party kids showing up when dude walks out on stage and walks to his lone piano and sits down and starts banging out his Dracula tunes. And they're not cool. They're not cool Dracula tunes like Rob Zombie. They're not
memorable Dracula tunes.
I mean, it's basically like his Dungeon Synth album. I mean, it's just it's positively medieval and it's fine. But yeah, like you suffer. Okay, not suffer. Suffer's not a good word to use. You listen to all 39 minutes of this record, and it takes all the way basically to get to Cadillac that it turns into a full band.
Yeah.
That's kind of jacked, man. Like,
are you saying that Mortis did it better?
Mortis always does it better.
Oh no!
I love Mortis.
I will never
dare you bring up Mortis in the middle of Andrew W.K.
I will never find an excuse not to talk about Mortis.
I love Mortis. Okay, I'll have to show you my Mortis tattoo sometime.
You have a Mortis tattoo?
No, I don't. Not
God,
really.
I was about to appreciate you more than I ever have before.
It seems like you'd be the best person to unknowingly send a dirty picture to. Hey man, I'm gonna show you something really cool, and you're like, great. You're like patiently waiting for my text,
tattoo.
And then you're just like, oh. I see what you did. I see what you did there.
Yeah. Just don't tell me you're sending me a 55 Cadillac picture tattoo on your body.
I'll just send you a picture of Dracula's castle. I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. This is fine, I guess. It's just not.
It's not fine, Dan.
I recognize that this is not what his fans want.
No one needed it. No. Andrew, no one needed this.
Maybe he did. Maybe he needed it. Maybe it was for him.
He does talk about in here that, like, this was the first time in a long time that he'd actually been able to like sit down and record something just for himself. But also, all right, you can keep it. I don't need it.
So what you're telling me is Andrew W.K., for the first time in a long time, sat down, recorded something for himself, and this is what he wanted.
He wanted to be free, Joe. He wanted to be free.
God of the party, the Wolf himself, wanted to release an avant-garde 39-minute album of piano soloing, and I saw an episode of Twin Peaks once, followed by nothing. I'll give the guy credit for putting it out there, and this is what I wanted to do. When you've got this much party in your back pocket, I don't think Andrew W.K. needs to release 5 albums of party hard, but I think that's what his fans want him to do. And I'm going to quote Dan verbatim. If you want to see Andrew W.K. play The Wolf and I Get Wet live, he's gonna. You're still going to get to hear those albums. But 55 Cadillac...
If he shows up to play 55 Cadillac, I'm probably going to party hard.
I'm going to be very upset initially.
Here's the problem. There's a reason why Mortis didn't call his Dungeon Synth albums Emperor.
Right.
Okay,
but at
so
but at the same time, Andrew W.K., like by that point, it was a name that had also morphed into an idea in a band, right? Is he trying to take it back?
I don't know. I mean, his official statement on this was just that he wanted to make, quote, the sound of a piano being played by a free man. Nothing more, nothing less. This was the first chance in almost 10 years where I was allowed to simply play and record an instrument. No songwriters, no lyrics to learn, no overdubs, no slow fixes, no remixes, no video shoots or interview practice. Just the sound of someone sitting in a room playing the piano for the sake of it. No one telling me what to play or how to play it, and no master plans, high concept visions, worldwide goals with rollout schedules, no style consultants or acting coaches, no more meetings with sponsors or computerized yelling, no more threats.
So he's
obviously
protesting
this is
the music industry.
It's clearly just a mental breakdown. Very similar to what I had with this podcast. He needed to just get out and do something himself. The only difference is I didn't go off and start all right, guys, this is Dan's podcast about flowers. I know you guys aren't used to me. Yeah, I know you guys aren't used to me talking about flowers, but
are you going to release an album called 57 Chevy?
Maybe. I mean, and he's clearly like making, right? This is improvised, right?
I mean,
like, there's no way these songs were composed.
I don't think there's a single person in the world that even cares if they were. I love Andrew W.K. I absolutely love him. But I'm done with him, with this track, with this album.
You're done for now.
Yeah, you're done for now, Andrew.
But hold your breath for 9 years.
Yeah, we waited 9 years.
And the good news is here. You're not alone in 2018.
It does hit some of the checklist standards, Joe.
It definitely hits the checklist standards.
He's like in a Thomas Kincaid painting on this one. Like, oh my goodness.
I was so happy to hear Andrew W.K. put out a new album in 2018. I didn't expect to get I Get Wet again, but not getting 55 Cadillac.
Wait, so is there
all I needed was that.
Is there a weird psychology thing that's happening here where he's like, okay, if I can't meet your expectation after I Get Wet, I can definitely meet your expectation after 55 Cadillac?
I think he woke up one day and said, it's time for the Wolf to come out of his den and release more of the party. Like, I don't think this album was motivated by any record contracts or fulfillment, or if I don't put an album out, I'm going to lose the rights to my Andrew W.K. persona. I think the dude just woke up and said, it's time.
Can I offer a different explanation? I think
he needed money.
I think that the dude woke up one morning and needed to pay his electric bill.
Well, based on the house that he's always running around in,
he's living in the
all
red,
these
though,
videos.
right? He never
always looks like
stopped.
he lives in a dirt pile.
I mean,
he doesn't do laundry like most people.
Everybody in 2018 until the modern day So, 4 years, everybody in the past 4 years, let's say it that way. Our generation is trying very hard to capture our childhood. That's how you have festivals like Furnace Fest going on where, actually Andrew W.K. was supposed to be one of the headliners on Furnace Fest.
Yeah.
And then he canceled for undisclosed reasons right before the fest. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. I didn't go anyway. Wasn't because of this, promise. But I think this is just kind of you look back on things, and for whatever reason, the decade that you're in, for instance, let's say it's the 90s and your favorite band is Bush, okay?
So
and
you in 2003.
You get in. No, I said it's the 90s, Joe. Follow with the analogy here.
What,
Okay.
Gavin got you, dude.
I'm just saying that Gavin got me in the 90s, but then by the mid 90s or the late 90s, I'm looking back on what Gavin did with a lot of cringe.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? I'm like, oh, God. And then if you listen to the new Bush records, God, don't even get me started on those. That's a whole different episode.
There's new Bush records?
Bro, no, there's not. But you look at it with cringe until one day you wake up and you miss the way that stuff made you feel.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get a record like You Were Not Alone.
Yeah. Dan, it sounds like you actually have a more positive reflection of this album.
I didn't say I liked it.
Oh.
I just said this is how we get it.
I was feeling the party for a minute, and then you just shit all over that.
I mean, the party never dies. But this is clearly just pandering to whatever fragments of a fan base that the dude had based on the first two records.
Damn, that
Dude,
hurts
it's totally
me,
fine.
Dan.
That's fine. Bands that I love do that all the time. They pander directly to me, and I'm cool with it. I like being pandered to.
I did really like this album. So
yeah, who doesn't like being pandered to? It's okay to be the target audience.
I don't think the classic fans are the target audience. I think
somebody older?
This is verbatim for the younger kids.
Really?
Nobody who listened to Andrew W.K. in 2001 is looking forward to his slowed down party hard with the millennial whoop in it.
I just needed Andrew W.K. Is what
I can't
needed.
wait to hear John Beatty's rebuttal to that.
So Andrew W.K. slowed down the rock a little bit, put out the new album. It's fine. He's still showing up filthy, and he's still bringing the party. He's still bringing the energy. And I think in 2018, the message was a little different than it needed to be in 2001. Maybe he's a little more tapped in to what's going on than anybody realizes, because he is putting out contextual music the whole time. We didn't talk about the EPs, but it's not only 55 Cadillac and Close Calls that he put out from 2003 to 2018, but there was a solid 9-year gap. I don't know what he was doing, probably acting, appearing in random shows, and showing up to be Andrew W.K.
He was being free, Joe.
Yeah, he's just a free man and a piano, Joe.
Free. Free.
He did do at one point like an album of all like Gundam music at some point.
Where is that? Why aren't we talking about it?
Well, I don't think the rights to distribute it are out there, but I'd be down for it.
I feel like we have another album to talk about in this episode right now.
Tune into Patreon.
There you go. There are a few tracks on this that I do like, and I think you're right though, Joe, about him. Like, he seems to have his thumb on something. Like, there is a darker tinge to this album lyrically, but yet there's also that super treacly positivity. But one of the songs that jumps out to me on this album that I love, and I actually can't help but hear it in my head every day, there's this song on it called Total Freedom, where it is not like any of his previous songs. It's way more epic, huge. He's hitting high, almost like soprano notes, and he's really like his upper register. And it sounds like something you'd get at the end of a rock musical. But goddamn if I don't love that song. There's something about it that hit me right in 2018 that I still can't put my thumb on, and I love that song. And if that song was the only thing in this album that I remembered, then I'm happy with the album.
That's his vibe, though. That musical epic vibe. Mm-hmm. So to start slow, low, might be the only time he put a single layer baritone low voice on an album. In fact, I'll say it. The opening of this track is Andrew W.K. live. because he's
Yeah.
always down in the mix. He's not putting himself in front of the band. It's always about the energy of the whole. And I agree. Where does this come from? This sounds like one of those laid-back, heavy rock ballads that Panic at the Disco or Fall Out Boy were trying to do 3 years
Sure.
prior.
Yep.
So it works. Again, he's tapping into popular music or popular
That's a good
music
point.
of the last 5 years. It feels more than what it is, though. It really does feel like he gets something
Yeah.
that everyone else is ignoring. And I
think-
don't have words for it. I can't put my finger on it and say, this is what he's making fun of, or this is what he's commentating on.
Well, we were joking earlier about how the guy, Dan, was like, I feel stupider after listening to this, which I don't think is wrong. And I think Andrew W.K. himself at some point in the past had said that he spent and I don't quote me on this, but I swear to God I read this somewhere back in the early 2000s that an interviewer asked him how long he wrote the lyrics for I Get Wet, and his response unironically was, I don't know, it took me like 4 hours to write the lyrics for the whole album. But this, and so therefore, that's the Andrew W.K. that is completely without thought, and this is almost all this subterranean thought where you're like, dude, are you getting too philosophical for me to even grasp? And if so, is that even being philosophical with this album?
He would answer, yes.
Yes.
After making a weird face.
This album's fine. It hits that space right where Close Calls of Brick Walls and The Wolf hit, where
Welcome return.
yeah. And maybe it's not even as big or as epic as The Wolf, but it's certainly another average Andrew W.K. album. It is it is like many of the KMFDM albums, Dan, where
Rance.
well, it hits the needs.
Don't start it, man. Don't start it.
Why do you want to kill me?
Look, I'm just telling you, as also a KMFDM fan, I'm telling you, only 40% of their backlog is good, dude.
It's weird because the bands that I call my favorite bands, I think most of their output is good.
So you're just identifying that I love mediocre.
I mean, I didn't say those words out loud. You're the one that put it out into the world.
Either.
2021. We made it, Dan. God is partying.
I mean, clearly.
Party till he puked.
All over us.
Oh, this. Okay, Dan. What'd you
It's
think of this
not the
album?
greatest album, but it's on my list of things that in 2021, when it appeared, I said,
Yep.
thank God Andrew W.K.
Yep.
decided to put an album out, because see previous statement. I don't know what he knows. I don't know the vibe or the logic that makes him say, this is when I have to release an album. But if there's anybody that needed to put an album out to remind people that it's going to be all right, Andrew W.K. is on that list, I think.
Yep.
The mainstream, not guys like us who can listen to Firepower and know that it's great, but for people that were sitting at home and were struggling to get through it, there's a new Andrew W.K. album.
There is.
Did it work?
Dan,
Yeah.
for you, did it work, man?
I mean, I would rather see a new Andrew W.K. album than Blood in My Urine.
I understand.
But
understand,
I
you
mean,
son of a bitch.
that's fine. That's a recycled line I used on a different band. I think I said that about Cradle of Filth on an episode of Brutally Speaking. But, I think that he has done a very good job of staying true to the sound that the people that became fans of him back in 2001 would expect him to be making now. I think
Would you
this
say
sounds.
that he stayed true to his heart?
No, that was 55 Cadillac. That was true to his heart.
Oh, okay.
Alone in a castle, may or may not be a vampire, playing on your piano, but you're free, right?
Okay.
This is definitely more of an appeasement thing, and I think he wouldn't be doing it if it didn't make him happy to some degree. I like the guitar tone on this record. I think it's pretty good. I like that he played all the instruments himself, which he typically is known for doing. And I think that the songwriting is strong. I like that the guitar tone has a little bit more of a modern crunch to it.
Yes.
I mean, other than and then we blew apart because that's we're back being free with a piano.
Cool.
But we're coming off
though. That
we're
point.
coming off sounded more like Queen by the end of that. But you know what? I'm fine with it. I mean,
It's the most.
He's not
the
fine.
most-
I
he's
promise
not.
you, he's not fine.
I would say that's
the
most,
thing. I don't
like-
feel enough one way or the other about it to hate it, but I just don't have a lot to say. I mean, I will say this. I think that the A side of this album, by the standards set forth by his fan base, are awesome.
Yeah.
Side B, we're kind of back to like Dungeon Synth Queen sort of stuff, which I think is where his heart's actually at.
There's a few tracks, like there's that goddamn 1 minute track that isn't really anything. There is, My Tower, which I just sort of I couldn't tell you what that song sounds like. I've heard it plenty of times, but it doesn't stick out in my
Well,
head.
it starts off a lot like a Mortis song.
with these low like blah noises.
No, not so much with like with the synth farts, but just I don't know, man. It's everything I was saying about 55 Cadillac at the beginning.
Yeah.
Just the intro, it does build up, but the first 30 seconds or so, you're definitely in Dungeon Synth territory. It's called My Tower, which I mean, at that point, you need to just put on the corpse paint and go. Luckily, though, after about the 40-second mark, it kicks in and it's like more of a power ballad.
Joe, what are some of your highlights on this album? You're rocking out over there.
The A side gives me some serious Ghost vibes, so I'm laughing at how much of that evil vibe is in there. We've mentioned it a few times. He's always sneaking in something that's a little bit darker than the overall product. And when you start off the record with Everybody Sins,
Yeah.
Except for me.
17-year-old Dan is like shitting himself right then.
followed by Babylon, right? Like, I feel the vibe is supposed to be a little more evil, and it feels ironic to me. And it probably isn't, because it's Andrew W.K., right? He has a reason for whatever this is. I just love the fact that it sounds a little more... I'm going to use the word raw, and I'm going to get yelled at for it, because there's nothing raw about this record other than it's a simplified Andrew W.K.
Yeah.
Normally, these albums are thick, and when I say albums, I mean the good ones. These are... thick.
Is that with thick with 2 C's?
Absolutely.
Okay, just checking.
So when you're doing all of it yourself, which I know he does for the most part on the records, he laid back on this one a little bit.
Yeah. It's funny that you say raw, because it's certainly like a less produced tone, or rather like a less intentionally produced tone. It's very well produced, but it doesn't have that overproduction that 2001 and 2003 had all over them, where I don't need 10 tracks of guitars. I've got maybe 2 guitars cross-faded here, and I'm just fine with that. And it does have a slower, more plodding pace to it. There isn't that like fist-pumping beat that we had with the first 2 albums.
Right, he's
Like,
trying to be spooky now.
Yeah. Everybody Sins and Babylon, and even Stay True to Your Heart, like they have this slower, more intentional drive to them that I love. But then, man, we turn it back around with I Made It and Not Anymore at the very end. And those are just classic I Get Wet into Don't Stop Living in the Red songs.
Or I'm in Heaven.
Yep.
It's like the story of this record was everything sucks, everything feels not okay, and then peaks right in the middle with, you guys know I'm Andrew W.K., right? Like,
I haven't forgotten.
you might be worried that the party's not here, but trust me, it's still here. So there's that vibe again. He brings it back around. I don't think this is the last thing he's done, but I think the message with this record is it might suck, but just remember the party is still here, and we have to remember the party. It's like Andrew W.K. is telling everyone it's going to be not that long before we can all get back together in public spaces, guys. So be patient. Yep. It's going to happen, and when it does, well, bring the party, because the party never stops.
Well, I'd take Dan to go see an Andrew WK show in an instant. As Dan just nods and is like, yeah, I guess.
I mean, okay.
Dan, there's nothing like an Andrew WK show. I'm telling you right now, there is nothing. There is nothing like an Andrew WK show. Well, there's probably a lot of things
that
like
doesn't
it,
necessarily mean I will enjoy the experience just because there's nothing like it. I mean, there's nothing quite like a lemon juice cleanse either.
You son of a bitch.
You know? There's nothing like it. But it doesn't mean you will like it.
I have a soft spot. I have to admit, like I have a complete soft spot for Andrew W.K. in my heart. The man could do no wrong. Seeing the way that he interacted with fans, like stage doored with fans, in like 2001 and 2005, the man did not stop. He wrote you would bring any kind of page up to him, like whether it was the back of a flyer or a whole piece of paper, he'd write a huge note to it, right to you, whatever it was, he'd fill up the whole page with it. He took my wife, who would be my wife.
That sounds like a mean thing he did to you.
He took, so she couldn't come to a concert, and I saw him. It was out back in the Record Theater in Baltimore, Maryland, and I was like, Andrew, my girlfriend couldn't come to the show. Can you talk to her on the phone? He took the phone into his bus and introduced her to everyone and had like a whole 5-minute conversation away from everyone else with her. And I'm like, wait, I don't want to have gone to the show now. I want to talk to Andrew on the phone for 5 minutes.
It's like, hey, dude, can you hold on to that for a second? I'm going to go to my car, get my other phone, and I'm going to call you. Like, can we just have a conversation now?
Dude clearly loved just being with fans, which is, I think, one of the things that I adore about him. Outside of the music, he just absolutely loved talking with people who loved his music and having a good time. Dan is unfazed. His heart is not even remotely shattered or warmed by this. He's like, fuck it.
I mean, I think that's a really cool thing that he did.
Dan, tell the story about how you bought beer for your favorite vocalist.
I mean, I bought beer for the whole band. I didn't just buy beer for Dan. The vocalist of Zayo is also named Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I spent, I dropped a hundo on some beer for Zayo when they came to town.
Final thoughts on Andrew
They drank
W.K.
it.
Rance. I feel like you gave your final thought, but go for it, man.
I love him, man. Like, I want him to keep putting stuff out. I appreciate Andrew W.K. even when he's at his least memorable, because I love him so much when he's at his most memorable. And I don't need. I think I'm past energy wise where I need to care deeply about the individual songs, and sometimes it's just about the experience of the albums. And like you were saying, Joe, every time Andrew W.K. puts out an album, I sort of discover it anew, and I discovered him anew, and I sort of really need it in my life. 2018, he put out this new album. It was the year my father passed away. I needed something to like drive me through and understand, like just get in touch with myself, as weird as that sounds. And this album did it in 2021. We're in a really weird world where some people are leaping right back into it and others are hesitant to do so. And, God is Partying came out right then, right when I wanted it. It was my favorite album of this year, but that also came with it because it was just full of so many damn feelings. I love Andrew W.K. The dude can keep putting out mediocre, and I'll still look for greatness in it, and I'll be okay with that.
Dan, what about you?
All right, so I'm gonna try to do as positive of a spin as I can, and that's just that I think that it is very cool that Andrew W.K. has positively affected not just you, Rance, but other people, and that his music came to people at a time when they were down, no matter where they were at in life. There is something about what he does that is very human and very relatable. So I enjoy that aspect of the personality that is Andrew W.K., even if I don't personally enjoy the music that much.
Every local scene has an artist or multiple artists that will never mean as much to the rest of the world as they do to that 5-mile radius. I cannot count how many times, how many artists, how many bands who are from the St. Louis area come to the Sheldon, which is supposed to have the best acoustics in the country. And I don't care how much someone in Seattle or somebody in Detroit knows this person or this band. I'm going to go see them, and I'm going to sit, I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to feel like it's one of the best musical experiences I've ever had, because I feel ownership for that band, for that artist, for that venue. Andrew W.K. gives you this vibe that he's your local artist. And it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what mood you're in. he always has something to take you in the right direction. And I think he brings an energy to the party that feels like a local band that you can own. I don't know what it feels like to be from LA and claim Metallica as my hometown band, but anybody could say they know what it feels like to have that artist if you're listening to Andrew W.K. I want everybody to listen to this guy and his band and his music. I want you to listen to the actual rock songs because I think those are the ones you're going to find the most value in. But if you're a fan of an artist, a musician, a creator who's not afraid just to do whatever's on their mind, this guy's been doing it for 20 years or longer. And this is just the stuff we know about. We don't know about the albums that we don't know about. And the beginning and the end are some of the best music you will hear at the rock show, at the stadium, at the party. So listen to Andrew W.K. Dan, what's your album of the week?
Well, I would say that I'm going to have to go with my album of the year for 21, which was The Crimson Corridor by Zayo. If you want to talk about a record that hit me right where I needed it to hit me, and a record that is also full of emotion and just a lot of feelings associated with it, it's definitely that one, even if my t-shirts have not shipped yet.
Rance, what about you?
So I have been listening to, this is not metal at all, so my very, very little metal credentials are going to crumble. I've been listening to Bodypop by And1, sort of going back to my 2006 industrial EDM roots, and man, it has not disappointed me. I was even listening to it while I grabbed a pair of hedge clippers and gave myself 7 stitches yesterday, and you know what? Kept me from crying like a baby. So
just to be clear, you said Bodypop or Bodypop 1.5?
But this is the man right here. I love it. It was Bodypop. It was Bodypop.
Just checking your industrial credibility. Don't make me call Matt Nas. Well, I'm getting ready for this wonderful celebration we do every single year, New Metal May. I'm listening to The War of Art by American Head Charge. The time has come to bring the head charge to this podcast. Rance, I'm so glad we got to do this show. I didn't think Dan was going to be here, but he decided to show up and suffer through it for once.
I basically wasn't here.
Yeah, you were. You brought the balance to it. Otherwise, it would have been me and Joe just being like, man, we love Andrew W.K. Like, we needed someone to balance it out a little bit.
We just did 95 minutes about I Get Wet. There's 5 more albums. 20 minutes later, and we're done.
Yay.
I really appreciate you guys yet again trusting me to come on the podcast and talk with you and everybody who listens to Discography Discussion. You guys literally have one of the best podcasts around, and I'm legitimately just pleased and honored to be able to be a part of it. So thank you.
Take us out, DFT.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Discography Discussion. We will see you guys again next week, but if you want to see us before that, well, you can't see us, but maybe you can see us. I don't know. You can go over to Discord, where there's a link in the show notes that'll take you to the wonderful world of Discord. If you'd like to reach out to us on social media, you can go to facebook.com/discography discussion. You can follow us on Twitter at discussmetal. You can follow us on Instagram at discussmetal. Did I already say the email address? Because you could totally email us there too at danandjoeshow@gmail.com. And if you want to support the show financially, either through sponsorship or through Patreon, go to patreon.com/discussmetal, or you can send us an email at danandjoeshow@gmail.com for sponsorship opportunities.
And on that note, this has been episode 270 of Discography Discussion. Thank you for listening. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at discussmetal. Subscribe to our podcast everywhere you listen to podcasts, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Stitcher. Visit discussmetal.com for all things discography discussion. And please send questions and comments to danandjoeshow@gmail.com. If you are not a patron, you can become one at patreon.com/discussmetal. We have some sweet perks.
Joe, there's a rich duck swimming through our money again.
It took me a second. It literally took me a second, then it hit.
$1 a month gets you to that exclusive album review feed.
And cut.
Woo!